Welcome to another conversation with the Brothers of Two Complex. We appreciate you for clicking on and viewing this video. But of course, before you get into the content, make sure you like the video, hit that subscribe button because about 95% of y'all right now that is viewing the video are not subscribed. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button for us. And also hit that notification bell so you miss none of the bangers that we drop every single week. We love y'all. Be blessed.
On the recent episode of The Shop, Nelly talks about how the early 2000s was the hardest era in hip hop, stating, "When I put out songs, I had to go against DMX, Jay-Z, Eminem, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, Luda. All of us were fighting for one spot. So from 99 to '08 or 2010, it's the hardest era ever." Sticks, what are your thoughts on Nelly's statement?
Oh man, I think because we grew up through the 90s and the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
We were, of course, way younger in the 90s, but in the 2000s when we were able to actually listen and comprehend and actually understand a lot more music. The 90s had a dope ass era though, but I think there's a lot of validity to what Nelly was saying because between 2000 and 2010, bro, some bangers, dog. Like some of the greatest artists came from that era. High key. You know what I'm saying? So like where is it at? So in the 2000s, this is the top 10 artists and this is talking about albums. I don't want albums, but the top 10 artists in the 2000s, you got people like Andre 3 Stacks. Outkast as a group was dope as hell in the early 2000s from 2000 to 2010. You got Nas at number 9. Nas was fire in the 90s. So you got Jeezy, you got Cam, you got T.I., you got Nelly, you got Kanye, who he started in the early 2000s. You got 50, like he said, Lil Wayne, who I think his run of the number one rapper was early 2000s. He dominated that, you know what I'm saying? Eminem, who people don't give enough credit, but Eminem is, in my eyes, if I'm being 100% honest with y'all, I think Eminem is the greatest rapper alive. But a lot of people won't agree with that. And then, of course, you got Jay-Z. So, but a lot of people don't agree that Jay-Z, and I get a lot of slack for this. A lot of people don't agree that Jay-Z had a lot of great albums, and a lot of people don't think that Jay-Z has ever been the hottest rapper out. But a lot of lists put him at number 1. But to get back to the topic, me personally, I do agree that the early 2000, the 2000 to 2010, that decade of rap was probably the hardest rap ever. The hardest because you had so many artists that was dropping bangers, not just banger albums, but bangers like singles were going crazy. Like you got so many memorable songs that there's so many classic songs, and honestly, so many classic albums that came from the 2010s. But if you want to go back for real to the 90s, I mean, you got your Nas's of the world, you got your Tupacs, your Biggies, your Ice Cubes. DMX was really prominent in the mid to late 90s. Snoop, Master P, like you got a Dr. Dre, like you got a lot of great artists there, but bruh, to be perfectly honest, they ain't touching the 2020, that decade from 2000 to 2010. They ain't touching it, bro. I ain't gonna lie. What you think, D'Lo? What was your perspective of that?
I mean, I think that you honestly said pretty much everything that I would have said. Nelly has a valid statement with what he said about the early 2000s being the hardest era. You just look at the names that he mentioned. And then, but you take the names that he didn't mention, and you mentioned the majority of that, I would say Kanye, Nas, T.I., Outkast, The Game. The Game had a classic
Game had
album.
a dumb classic. The documentary?
The documentary was a classic, right? Drake's mixtape was going crazy around
Stupid.
07, 09. You know what I mean? It wasn't the peak Drake, but it was still when he started his career. So we're talking about sheer talent and the amount of cats that contributed to hip hop in its current state. came from that early. The South was going crazy,
The
right?
South was going stupid.
So like when you talk about that era of hip hop, I understand what Nelly is saying. He wasn't saying like it was the hardest as far as getting mainstream, because hip hop was really,
Booming.
that's when it crossed over the mainstream, was around 2000s and beyond. But
Mm-hmm.
he was saying just as far as being the guy, he had to compete with the likes of who he mentioned, the Jay-Z's, the DMX's, the Eminems, the Lil Waynes, the 50 Cents, the Ludas, because they were going to put out something every year that you was going to at least 1 to 2, 4 songs off the album. You can be like, yeah, I can play this. This is my joint, right? Or the album is just top notch, top tier. But Method Man on Carmelo Anthony and what's his name? Kid Miro?
I can't remember,
What
honestly.
is from 7 p.m. in Brooklyn?
Okay,
That
I see. Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah.
Shout out to Mello
Mm-hmm.
and Kid Murrow. But Method Man said he was like he can. What did Method Man say? He said he thinks all the eras were tough, especially the ones when hip hop wasn't widely accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely understand that as well, because like that would be like us saying we got it so hard right now compared to our ancestors who was in the field picking cotton and stuff, right? Like,
Right.
we got it easy
We
compared,
got it
because
way easier, right?
we don't see the discrimination and the racism that they used to see. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with the 2000s. Those cats that was in the 80s and early 90s, people was buying CDs just to throw it on the street and on television and burn them. Hip hop was not widely accepted early
Mm-hmm.
on. But that's not what Nelly was talking about. Nelly was talking about the sheer competition
The sheer
of the
competition,
sport
yes.
of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And like I I think it's a valid statement.
I think it's a super valid statement, man. But you know, you're gonna have people that say, "Oh nah, man," because we have the most of our audience is around our age, maybe a little bit older, and I think, well, I can't even say that because I'm about to say I think that they would agree that the late '90s, early 2000s, up in like Nelly said, from like 98 to 2010 was probably the best decade of rap. And
Yep.
but I mean, you'll get a lot of people that
I
go
don't know if
back.
I don't know if I could say no. But it's like the NBA though. It's like the NBA. The
I was about to bring
90s
that up
was
too.
the
You right.
golden era
Mm-hmm.
of hip hop, right? That's when
Mm-hmm.
everybody's like it's crossed over and everybody is like, "Oh, did you hear the Tupac album? Oh, did you hear the Biggie album?
Did you hear All Eyes on Me? Did you hear
You know what I
what you
mean?
think about A Reasonable Doubt? Did you
Right.
think that was good?
Right. It was widely accepted, right? So
Right.
you had it wasn't as underground as it used to be.
Very true.
So, but when you say the golden era of rap,
Do you think
it's hard to argue
You see what I'm
against.
saying? Yeah.
It's hard to argue against the 90s. R&B 100%. 90s, no era was better, in my opinion.
I think early 2000 music to me was super duper peak in the early 2000s, bro. Even R&B music, bro. But R&B is something that like you can go back to the 70s and 80s to find some dope ass bangers. 90s was great though. I do agree with you. 90s was great. It's just it's so, bro, you gotta think about it like, but it's exactly like you said. It's evolved so much.
Yeah.
Like just like you brought up basketball. It evolved from the 80s to the 70s to the 80s to the 90s, which I think a lot of people would agree was the golden era of basketball. But like now, like the game has evolved so much that they had to change rules. They had the athletes are getting bigger, faster, stronger. Like everything is going to evolve as it goes along. To me personally, music has gotten worse. Music has gotten worse. The 90s and early 2000s, great. 2010 to 2020, okay. Now, music is ass. Like I don't listen to much music anymore. I used to wait for albums. I used to every week, every Friday on Apple Music, I used to go on and say, okay, what's the new album of the week? Like who dropped this week? Who dropped this Friday? I used to do that all the time and actually listen to albums. I don't do that no more. So it's like So it might be somebody who might say they drop in like just like Meek Mill dropped his EP. I listened to it. It was ass, but I listened to it. You know, the only song that was on there was the one with him and Future. Yeah, whatever. But I don't do that no more. I'll look for a couple of people. Like when J. Cole drops his, when J. Cole drops his, I'm definitely gonna listen. If Andre 3 Stacks was actually drop an actual rap album, I listen to that. Like D-Lo even said too, like he don't listen to as much music as he used to. So it's like, but whenever the early 2000s, you was definitely listening to music. You had everybody dropping albums. Shit, you had DMX drop 2 albums in a year. So it's like, come on, bro. I think if we might be on the other end of this, but I think the early 2000 to 2010 best era of music, regardless if it's rap or R&B. Like best era of music.
Now I can't agree with you on that. But
but you think that because you listen to a lot of old school R&B. I do too. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But hip hop definitely. You said R&B is different though.
Yeah, I think 90s hip hop is
90s R&B.
Yeah, 90s R&B is the deal. My fault. You're right. All right, but let me ask you this question. Sticking with what Nelly said about the 2000s being the hardest and why, let's talk about why it was the hardest, right?
Okay.
So he mentioned specific individuals,
mm-hmm.
and you briefly mentioned some other individuals that he didn't mention. Who are some others that contributed to that decade that, you know, individuals might not say, oh, they're the top, they're my top, you know, they're my top list. But if you go back to that era, they definitely contributed to it being one of the hardest. I'll start with producers. Timbaland.
Oh, 100%.
Swiss Beats.
Yes, bro.
Just Blaze. Pharrell.
Yes, bro.
Yay again. So start with those. Those individuals alone help mold that era.
Agreed.
Then let's go to the artists. The ones that you mentioned or we mentioned before. You got Nas. You got Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
You got Outkast. Who else did you say?
50.
Well, 50 was on the list that he said.
True.
T.I.
Yep.
Right. But let's talk about some people that Missy
was going crazy
with the album
Busta Rhymes
2000s. Eve, Paul Wall, Mike Jones, Jadakiss, Clips. Niggas still doing the
Most Def
from grinding nowadays.
Yeah.
Cam and Dipset was going
crazy.
Cam and Dipset,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love Fab. Fab was going crazy.
Was going
back then
stupid
with the features alone.
Yes.
So I mean, like
that
sir. era was just crazy, man. With the type of talent that was in that era. Can you think of anybody else? I think I named pretty much everybody.
The person
Lil Jon and the East Side Boys.
Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, Yin Yang Twins.
You know what I mean?
They had some bangers back in the day.
These are individuals, exactly. These are individuals that you wouldn't say are the best rappers and whatnot, but who had an influence to the competition.
Yes,
you know what I mean? They definitely contribute to the competition at the times.
I don't know if you can say he rapped, but somebody who had a huge influence on the game of music, T-Pain, who we talked about.
T-Pain, yeah, rapper turned singer.
But actually, who somebody else who came with a different type of flow, Twista. Was mm-hmm. crazy in the early 2000s, bro. Like it was so many. We just talked about Fab, bruh. Fat Joe, come on, bruh. Like and Big Pun, Jada,
Big Pun. But didn't Big Pun Jadakiss exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Big Pun die in 2000?
Did he die in 2000? When did Big Pun die? Let me look it up real quick. I'm on here. When did Big Pun die? He died early 2000. You're right. Damn. So he was 90s low key. But
yeah.
But that's crazy. I didn't know. But I did know he died. But damn, that's crazy. But nah, the early 2000s of rap was so fire, bro. Like and we talk about this all the time. How we wish like music could just go back to the way it was, bro. Because it was so much better, bro. A decade ago. Like shit, 2 decades ago was so much better. But
it was all good just a week ago.
I wish that was true. I wish that was true, but it's not. It's not, bro. And like music now is just so ass, bro. Like I can't listen to music, and there's not a lot of music out there that I want my daughter to listen to. because it's so bad, bro. It's so much propaganda and so much shit that's being pushed to our young listeners and our young viewers now that you don't even want to turn the radio on. Whenever I'm in the car nowadays, maybe it's because that we got the podcast now, but whenever I'm in the car now, I don't even listen to the radio. I don't listen to Apple Music. I don't listen to Spotify. I don't listen to iHeart Music. I don't listen to Pandora. I'm on YouTube. I'm in the car on YouTube. I got a 2-hour drive. Well, most of the time, like an hour and a half. But usually it's like an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm in the car commuting. 4-hour round trip. I have no music on in my car. It's all YouTube. Either it's for research purposes or something that I'm interested in listening to. On YouTube. I don't even listen to music no more because it's so bad. But if I can go back to high school days and college days from 2003, from 99 to 2008, 2009 when I graduated, the peak of music, bro. Peak. Rap music in D-Lo. So I'm agree with D-Lo because we're talking about rap right now. The peak of rap music between 98 and 2009, 2010, like Nelly said, peak of rap music, bro. It was so amazing.
As far as competition is concerned.
As far as quality of music too, dog. What you mean?
But yeah, quality competition, they kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, 100%. And the reason I say 90s R&B is probably the peak, the golden age of R&B is because you have so many instrumentals that are being taken from that time. You know what I mean? From 90s R&B that are used in today's times. And before as well. I mean, you do have those collection of individuals from old school R&B, the Michael Jackson, the Worlds, the Stevie Wonders, those type of individuals where their music is sampled quite heavily. So I just feel like the 90s R&B was 2000s, early 2000s was good as well, but I just think 90s R&B is a little bit above the 2000s.
Yeah, y'all let us know in the comments, man. Do y'all think 90s R&B
they're
was
gonna
great?
let us know already.
They of course they're gonna tell us. But do y'all think 90s R&B was better than 2000s R&B? And do you agree with Nelly that from that decade, from early 2000s, from 2000 to 2010 was the best decade of rap? Let us know what you think in the comments, man.